What's up, fuckers?
Welcome back to another episode of Chango Libre. I guess it's going to be, a full episode this time around. So,
that's a good verse of that one.
I think, I don't think. Last time we were talking about, the overhyped heroes and whatnot, kind of brought an idea to my head. That, we're pretty sure gonna get some shit over this because there's fanboys on both sides,
When do we not get shit?
But, DCU versus MCU. Just strictly the live action stuff. Because, we can discuss both. So the DC cinematic universe and the DC animated universe versus the Marvel cinematic universes and the Marvel animated universe, to be more exact. So Doc says, there's, usually MCU releases of live action stuff, Disney/Marvel is making like hand over fist money, DCU is, there's, by all means, I wouldn't, turn down like $10 million, but it's still significantly less than than MCU movies, So, figured, go into it, like, what do you think they're doing wrong? Or right, in either case.
Where do we begin?
So for me, I will say that I like the casting they did with Aquaman.
Yeah, Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Everybody would disagree with the Ben Affleck as Batman. I like Ben Affleck, but
yeah,
I think the thing that hurt them the most is that they went opposite of what Marvel did. Marvel set up a whole bunch of solo movies, and then at the end they had those little end scenes where they kind of like we're forming a team type of thing.
Yeah.
Tying this movie or events in.
So they went, sorry guys, I'm yelling. They went completely the opposite way with that. They said, hey, we're going to have Batman vs. Superman, introduce Wonder Woman, and then we're going to fight,
Steppenwolf?
No, not even Steppenwolf. They had
Doomsday.
Yeah, Doomsday, who looked like a turtling. It was horrible. And the whole, of course, Martha. What? Your mom's name was Martha? My mom's name was Martha.
What a coinky dink.
That's why we became besties. I was like,
Super Brothers.
So, I like Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
Some of the casting is not bad. It's just, they're just a really good example of what happens when the studio intervenes. And Batman vs. Superman was just way, way too much for one movie.
Yeah.
I watched the Snyder Cut. I liked it a little bit better, the Justice League Snyder Cut. Yeah. I liked it a little bit better than the original. They had some intros in there, and but overall, it's hard to save that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely tried to capitalize and get the same amount of success that Marvel did right out the gate.
Yeah.
One thing I've seen is that they shouldn't have ignored Nolan's Batman trilogy, to which I disagree on that note. I think they should have, because it was never in the cards for that to play into anything, because like the thing is like you said, Marvel Studios took the time to plan ahead. Well, not necessarily plan every single detail, but they planned ahead. It was like, okay, we're going to do this movie, then we're going to have this come out. We're going to do this, and then we're going to work towards this.
No, you're right. They did a really good job of planning it. Not only just planning it, executing it, and then setting up the next character.
Yeah, it's like they it wasn't just like, oh, here, you're going to go watch Iron Man, and that's all you get. It's, here's Iron Man. And guess what? We're going to throw a little something in at the end.
Yeah.
We're going to build, like, we're going to give you
a little something at the end. I mean, right at the very beginning, they kind of teased the Army of the Ten Rings, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, is this the Mandarin? Is it going to be a Mandarin bad guy? It's like, oh, no, it's Ironmonger.
But it's just like, it's that plus they had a slow start. Because, again, like, when they released Man of Steel, that was kind of them like, okay, we're going to tie our stuff in together.
Yeah.
Which led to Batman versus Superman and stuff like that. But it's just like you said, it's like, it's Batman versus Superman. Hey, look, Wonder Woman's here.
Yeah. But, like, right quick. So, one of the biggest things that I think hurt DCU the most, and it's something that, I get in a way, Marvel also did, but it was also kind of all out of their control, was the Spider-Man reboots. Constant reboots, you know? Like.
But, I mean, honestly, that technically wasn't their fault.
Like, because they did the Man of Steel one, where it was that one actor, and then they brought in Henry Cavill, you know, whatever. Cavill, I hate names. Anyways, they brought him, they have him, and they've stayed pretty steady with him as Superman. But on the opposite end, you know, they introduced, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy, which has Christian Bale as Batman / Bruce Wayne. And again, you know, they should be considered separate movies, but at the same time, you can't ignore the previous movies, you know? So now you have, you know, Ben Affleck as Batman as well, which didn't last as long as I guess they had hoped. And now you're having,
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson? Yeah, as Batman now. And so it's like, thankfully, I think they're focusing on different aspects of the Batman. So that's what's kind of a saving grace here. But they've kind of like, in a way, oversaturated the Batman market a bit for themselves. You know?
I mean, with that, I tend to agree just because of the fact that, you know, but Batman is their flagship.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the reason they recast, you know, Superman so much, and it wasn't really so much if you think about it, it was like...
It was once, yeah.
It was Christopher Reeves, Brandon Roth, and then Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
It's because there was so much, you know, such a big space of time between those movies.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that you're like, okay. And, of course, Man of Steel was a different interpretation of Superman.
That's why I didn't really count the Superman stuff.
Yeah.
But, like
the Batman part, I get why they did it.
Yeah.
Because the Nolan universe is different, you know. Kind of like in the same way that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker isn't. It's not in the same. It's a pocket of it, but not in the same universe.
Yeah.
That's why you're not going to see Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in any of the regular stuff.
Yeah. Like, it goes back to the thing, because, like, when they made, like, Man of Steel, like, that was, I think, maybe Thor had come out by that time.
Yeah.
When they made that. And, like, that's when Marvel was raking in the dough.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not saying that DC was like, oh, we want a piece of that action, but I think, like,
for sure, I mean,
they saw that and they're just like, oh well, we're releasing a new Superman, like,
yeah.
Not saying they just tacked it on, but everything was a bit rushed because it's
well, I will say that I think the one thing that helps Marvel is Kevin Feige, I think is his name.
Yeah,
he steers the ship. In other words, he likes the properties.
Yeah.
He's given their company direction as far as the Marvel movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's acquired all the stuff that they sold off before previously, which is the Hulk, Fantastic Four, X-Men. He's brought them all back under one umbrella.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't hold Spider-Man against them is because they were with Sony.
No, and that's what I'm like.
And, like, Sony's notorious for fucking shit up.
Yeah. But regardless of that, like, when the new Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, right?
Yes.
Came out, there was for sure some Spider-Man burnout because it was like it had already been rebooted. Is what I'm kind of getting to.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Like, there was a lot of people that didn't want to go see it initially because, like, well, we've already had 2 before. Mm-hmm. But, like, when it came out, it was like, I will say, Homecoming is probably the better one out of the 3 coming out.
I think the better decision that they did was the fact that they introduced Spider-Man not in his own movie first, but rather in the Civil War movie.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, holy shit, that's fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah,
but hold on a second. So, sorry, I don't mean to. No, but, like, the thing is, like, you, like, as quote-unquote nerds, we know that there's a difference in the movies. But, like, to the common person, that's just like, that's just Batman. Batman over there played by one actor. Batman right here played by a different actor. Batman again played by a different actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing I will say that the one thing that messes up DC more than anything else is that they had Jeff Johns, which by all means, he is a great writer, comic book writer. Mm-hmm. And he was steering the ship for the DCU, the DC universe. And apparently he did a lot of fucked up things, like decisions or whatnot, that led to that chaos.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, which is disappointing because, like I said, he had done some really great stories, and, you know, comic book wise. And I'm like, I was expecting better because I'm like, if you're doing great stories with comic books, you know, then an adaptation.
Yeah.
In my head, it should be easier. I've never written a script, never thought about it. So, but you would figure if the art that you is storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it would have been better. Like he was the Kevin Feige for
yeah, for sure.
And I think the other thing is now they literally have just like corporate people.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out.
So that kind of goes back to what I said in the previous episode. Remember what I said is like, in the comics, you can't really get away with, you know, building up a character because otherwise you have like 30 pages of, you know, person just doing jack shit.
Yeah.
In the comic books, like you have, like, it needs to be action on top of action on top of action with some story in between. And I think that's what the DC movies are exactly like. They're like the comic books, but you can't do that with a movie. It needs more of a narrative, you know?
And I agree, but what I'm saying, it isn't so much that he was writing the movies.
Yeah.
In other words, he was in that Kevin Feige role where, like,
he needed to be a voice of reason.
Like, versus... you can steer the ship and be like, hey, this character's not that. It needs to be this.
Yeah.
You know, he can give an idea to the story and be like, hey, the narrative needs to be this. Gotcha. Because that character is, well, that's not in their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And so in my head, I was thinking, okay, so he's going to do the Kevin Feige, somebody's a gatekeeper, kind of like the way we figured most people, was her name Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars?
Yeah.
I think that's her name. You know, because she came from that world, that she would be a good gatekeeper for the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
And apparently that was a no.
Yeah.
She was the main reason why everything fell to shit. And it's probably why she is on the outs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look just, you know, for example, the Star Wars movies. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but those last 3 movies were the epitome of shit.
See, this kind of goes to what I think, like, DC's doing is, like, because we kind of touched on it, that, like, Cap, Thor, Iron Man, they're not necessarily the biggest.
Yeah, they're not like, especially Iron Man wasn't an A-list hero before.
But, like, the thing is, like, the general public is what, like, brought those movies up. Because, like, I don't think there was enough comic book people that went and made it be that big of a thing. Like, especially for it to take off like it did.
Yeah.
The general public. So, like, there's some kind of basic knowledge that got people in there.
Yeah, sure.
For like, it to be a comic book movie. But, like, if you look at, especially, like, the Andrew Garfield reboot, not saying it's because, like, he's a bad actor or anything like that, but
it was horrible. Those were horrible.
Yeah,
movies.
They were horrible because they didn't write them well. What MCU did with, like, Iron Man and stuff like that, even though, like, you may kind of know Thor, you know Cap, you know Iron Man a little bit, you don't know that much, they still wrote good stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think DC is going off of the name recognition, like the Amazing Spider-Man did, as well as Star Wars did recently. It's like, oh, it's Star Wars. You love Star Wars. It's like, yeah, but your story's shit. Yeah. Just like the thing is like those like the movies. You got the characters that we all know and love, but the story sucks.
Yeah,
and I mean, and like I said, it goes back to having that gatekeeper like Kevin Feige. In other words, it isn't always so much the narrative; it's being able to hire the right people in the right places.
Yeah,
kind of like the way he hired the director for Patty Jenkins is the director for the last Wonder Woman movies, right?
Okay, yeah.
So she was supposed to be the director for the second Thor movie. Mm-hmm. And for some reason she got fired or she quit and said, screw this. Mm-hmm. And that's when she went over to Wonder Woman, mm-hmm. which the first Wonder Woman movie I really liked. Second one, I like the nostalgia of the 80s, but, you know.
Yeah, like the setting was cool, but everything else was like,
You know, but at the end of the day, they can't all be winners.
Yeah.
You know, but the reality of it is it's kind of like it's opposite, you know, two sides of the same coin, I guess you could say, like different ways of doing it. I mean, like I said, I bring up Star Wars because, you know, their argument was always, well, you can't make a good Star Wars movie because people don't want to let go of, you know, like the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Which I can understand that argument. But then you got Jon Favreau. Mm-hmm. I think that's the way you pronounce his last name.
We've already butchered so many names.
Yeah,
so
close enough.
Let's just keep going.
Jon Favreau.
That does The Mandalorian, and The Mandalorian was awesome. I mean, literally, you're looking at like, okay, so let me get this straight. So he can direct this TV show, this on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. But he did this show. He wrote this show, directed this show. So there's no way that you can tell me that you can't direct new stories.
Yeah.
Because he did it. The Mandalorian was a new character, a new page in that history.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It's just having the right people involved, you know. And that's the thing where some people fail. Where the same thing. That's why I think DC fails, is that again to what you were saying earlier. You're just at this point you're trying to catch up to Marvel, which is the wrong thing. Your heroes are their own people, you know, and they have their own universe. So you can't, like when you said the Batman, I can even understand that because like the new Batman movie, he needed to go younger.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do like when he started being Batman. So I understand replacing Ben Affleck. When Ben Affleck was originally attached to the Batman movie, he was going to direct and star. So I'm assuming his vision for that movie was different. Mm-hmm. So when they got Matt Reeves, the director, he pretty much said, skirt, I want to go younger. And that's why Ben Affleck's not in that movie, you know. So I don't know. I just think that the way that DC did it is just, they rushed everything, trying to play catch up. And I'm like, you should have planned it out. Because Batman vs. Superman, you put too much crap into one movie. Everybody saw it. Everybody who is a nerd saw how Gal Gadot is probably the standalone in the movie. I actually like Ben Affleck in the movie, but she is like the one thing that stands out in that movie that everybody liked.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, out of everything I've heard about Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman was the thing that
stood out.
That they were like, yes.
So, and then of course they released Aquaman. Everybody pretty much liked Aquaman. It was kind of more Marvel-esque in a way.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody kind of was good with it.
And like one thing I will say, like on like without casting, directing, stuff like that, like the one thing that DC feels versus Marvel is each movie from the MCU feels like its own unique thing. Like it's not even just like because it's like a different characters and stuff like that, but like the direction and feel of each movie just feels completely different from the other. Whereas like in DC, like everything feels like it's kind of going through the same look and feel.
I would actually disagree with you on that one. So like, no, it's weird. I agree and disagree with you. It feels like each movie in the MCU feels like its own separate movie that interconnects.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. It's like the style, like whereas like you could have Thor Ragnarok, which is a little more goofy,
yeah,
and you could have something more serious. If like with DC, it feels like everything is trying to go into that same kind of vein,
yeah,
of following Snyder.
Yeah, but that's where I agree with you that each movie seems like its own thing and interconnects with the greater MCU, whereas the DC universe, like at the moment, it's scattered. There's multiple multiverses in the MCU or DCU going on right now. There's the Snyderverse, there's the Justice Leagueverse, and then you have the oddly enough you have the Batman, with Robert Pattinson being younger again. Which at the moment we don't know where that fits.
Yeah, well, I'm not even talking about the connectivity, like within the movies, like the storyline. I'm talking about like you could watch Iron Man and it feel uniquely different versus Thor.
No,
like without having them being connected at all.
Yeah,
but like you could just watch them on that. But like with regardless of whether it fits within the cinematic universe, like story wise, everything on DC side feels like it's literally trying to follow Zack Snyder's direction and like feel.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you on that part. I'm just saying that they feel individual while still feeling connected to something else. And as they were coming out, you don't know what else they were connected to, which in a way kind of gave you a better sense of like as the movies came out, you're like, oh, okay, that's connected to this, which kind of
it lets you guess and wonder what the next surprise is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, but like, it's just one of those things where even if, like, there's still the sub-pockets, like, trying to stick with one cinematic style, like, I get it, you're more gritty, but like, I think Wonder Woman 1984, like, that one was probably the one that was the most out there in the terms of, like, visual look, and it still was probably better than the rest of the DC movies.
Yeah.
No. What? I would disagree.
Okay.
I would say the first Wonder Woman is probably better than the second one. And the second one kind of disappointed because of the fact that, yeah, visually I thought it was more appealing. It wasn't as dark as the other movies. But other than that, the villain, I didn't mind the villain. It's just the casting of the villain. Like, yeah, it was pretty horrible. And then, the reality of the story was just okay. It's almost like, I would say, so I think most we could agree, first Iron Man movie was pretty good, right? For being the first. But the second one was pretty crap, Because to me, you wasted Mickey Rourke. You wasted the character. Sure. I don't even know if there actually is a Whiplash in the comic books, but
there is.
You created that character pretty much, and you're like, it was just a really bad, like other than the ending and the, you're like, what the hell was this movie really all about?
Yeah, honestly, it feels like that the Whiplash character that was in the cinematic universe, and me and Doc have talked about this multiple times, could have easily, and it wouldn't make sense for Iron Man to be fighting him, but could have easily been Omega Red. Yeah. That would have been fucking dope. Even played by Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Because, like, he had that Omega Red look to him,
Yeah.
Like.
So, and the same thing that I feel with Wonder Woman, there's like, first one was good. Second one, it's kind of like they dropped the ball a little bit. Visually, I liked it. It was appealing, which goes to your point, which it wasn't as dark as the other movies. The Batman movies, I understand why they're always dark, because it's Batman. Gotham City is always dark. So, even Man of Steel, I really liked Man of Steel. I have friends that didn't like it, because, Superman killed Zod. And they're like, oh, but Superman never kills. I'm like, yeah, but the whole point of the movie is he's discovering who he is.
Yeah.
So how would Superman have a creed if he's barely discovering who he is?
Yeah. And right now I'm showing Doc a picture of Whiplash, which isn't the most impressive thing in the world.
No. And you know why? Because in that version, doesn't he look like more of a jacked up Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles?
He really does.
So, I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest problem that hurts the DCU, I mean, I get the R-rated stuff. I actually appreciate it a little bit. But, like, the Snyder Cut and which is like, is Man of Steel I liked. Batman vs Superman, I think that was just more studio interference that you have to put, you try to cram all this stuff in there, and I'm like, it backfires, the making that connection between Superman and Batman, and, it just, everything seems forced. You can see it in the movie. If you're a nerd, you know what I'm talking about. Just everything seems forced because you're trying to play catch up, and there's no time to get that depth for all these characters.
Yeah.
You already know who Batman is. You know who Superman is. They had their own movies. But you see Gal Gadot, and I'm like, okay, so that's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, because that came out before hers.
So, and that's why I'm like, yeah. I mean, there's little things here and there that I'm like, okay, it's not bad. I didn't mind the actors. I thought the actors that was really good casting, but the story, that's where they dropped the ball. And that's where they consistently dropped the ball at. I think the Snyder Cut of Justice League was better, but we're talking about by degrees. And I could see where they were going with it, because if you saw the Snyderverse, even though you had to go through that whole movie again, the end scene, the end credits, where there was Martian Manhunter, in it. I thought that was really cool. So, you could see where they were going with it. They were even talking about trying to get Ryan Reynolds to reprise his role as Green Lantern.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I mean, but again, like Green Lantern was shittily written.
Yeah.
And that is like the one thing over and over again that hurts them. It's just, and I think you said it earlier, it was like you said, hey, here's Green Lantern. You're going to go watch it anyways. And I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, you're hurting your own brand because you're just throwing whatever out there, and you're counting on people just to go see it, not understanding if you're trying to create a universe for it. Nobody wants to go see the next movie. This is exactly what you're going to do over and over again. So, again, like Marvel, they're cookie cutter movies, but they feel different. And they connect to a bigger picture. Where in DCU, it's scattershot, shittily written, and you really stop caring that it's going to connect to a bigger universe. And that's what hurts them, I think.
Yeah, because I'm honestly like, in the Justice League one, they kind of try to do. I'm going to go ahead and say they tried to do kind of like the Spider-Man reveal thing with Wonder Woman, but like it was just kind of like a thing. Like, cool, Wonder Woman's there, but it wasn't like a big like anticipation thing. It wasn't like you figured that she was going to either show up in another movie or something, but it wasn't like. It wasn't that grand reveal like that was, that anticipation was there.
Yeah, and then all the problems that they had when, like, Zack Snyder left in the middle of directing that movie, his daughter died, and then Joss Whedon took over. Like, you could definitely see that there's, like,
two different styles there.
Yeah, and you're like, then you hear all that crap that Joss Whedon did and tried to pull, and it's like, dude, why the fuck are these people still even allowed to have access to any kind of power?
Yeah.
I understand that you're known as you're like a franchise saver or whatever, but I'm like, yeah, maybe back in the day, back in the 90s or whatever, where a lot of things were more acceptable. A lot of things were kind of more swept under the rug. Now with, the Me Too movement and all these other things and social media, so they're just people like that. You need to be outed. You need to get out.
Yeah. Because
you're going to hurt a franchise more than you're going to help. So, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different things that went wrong with that movie that you're like, how can you really save it? That's when people are like, oh, Ben Affleck was horrible. I'm like, how are you going to blame a shitty script on Ben Affleck? Or, how are you going to blame that on, Henry Cavill or Wonder Woman, or Gal Gadot? I mean, they're just there just to act.
To the, Batfleck thing. Like, he didn't really get a chance to be in his own movie. Which I would have liked to see Ben Affleck in his own Batman movie to see how he portrayed him. Because the only movies he was in was Suicide Squad for that brief moment.
Yep.
And Justice League, right?
And Batman vs Superman.
And Batman vs Superman. But even then, like, he didn't really get a chance to really do that character, you know? You see him, he's sharing the screen with other people.
I mean, realistically, what I was hoping, there's a movie that he did called Argo. He did that and directed that before he did Batman vs. Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, he has like a beard or stubble, and it's really, really such a good movie. I think he won an Oscar for directing, or he was nominated. That was a really good movie, and I'm like, I could really picture that as the Batman he's supposed to be portraying.
Yeah. Especially if they're going for that, like older, kind of on the fringe of being burnt out. And yeah.
So.
Which I didn't really realize that's what they were going for until just now. And I could totally see that, but like.
But you don't, like I said, you dropped the ball because you don't know that. You know, you don't see that, you know.
Yeah.
So. And apparently, like I said, going back to the Joss Whedon thing, apparently Cyborg was supposed to be like have more of a dominant role in that movie. So in the Snyder cut, you could definitely tell his role's a little bit more expanded.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's one of those things, man, that it's like it kind of like lets you know, like, more than anything else, how important writing is to a movie.
Yeah. On the opposite end of that, because enough trash talking about DCU. Feels like we've been ragging on the DCU for a while. So let's throw some compliments their way, really. Their animated universe.
Yes.
On the other hand.
Well.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and finish that sentence.
Yeah. Their animated universe, on the other hand, is top fucking notch compared to the Marvel animated universe. Because, not to say that the characters are bad or the stories are bad, but they're just they fall flat a bit, you know? Like, the Marvel movies are literally retelling the same exact story, you know, almost panel per panel. And that's actually something I have to complain about as well on the DC, which I can see on Doc's face. So, go ahead, Doc.
So previously, a couple of years ago, I would have agreed.
Yeah.
And DC has really good stories, so does Marvel, so there should be no reason why they're being lazy about it.
Yeah.
But here, the last several movies that DC has done, Hush, great story, and they managed to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because the Riddler winds up being the big bad, and I'm like...
Oh, spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, then, oh well.
But Doc, the Riddler's more popular.
Oh, okay, maybe in the Riddler's mind. You know, like, it's one of those, like, riddle me this and riddle me that. You know, it's like, how in the fuck are you the big bad in Hush?
Yeah.
You know, and you actually had the character who is Hush in the fucking cartoon. You know, but I'm like, so technically you introduced the character,
but then,
and you kind of foreshadow who he is, because you make all you needed was a dun dun dun. You know what I'm saying? And yet that's not who you use. That was such garbage.
Yeah.
You did the same thing, Gotham by Gaslight, really good story, and messed that up.
I can't say they messed it up because it wasn't based on anything.
Yeah, it was. There's a story.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, Mike Mignola did the art for that story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So...
well, fuck me then.
Later.
But it's one of those things that you're like, okay, so again, I can understand in the live action that you're not going to go story for story, that you want to change it to appeal more to a broader audience.
Yeah.
But in the animated universe, you don't have that excuse other than, you know, you're trying to extend it out a little bit to make the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And previously, they were fucking awesome. They did a great job. You know, and I will say the Death in the Family, what it was with the Joker. Yeah, I will say that I was boring. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was kind of. I fell asleep on it twice.
I can't exactly pinpoint where the turning point was for the DC animated universe. You know, here I'm talking shit about it again, but here, whatever. It's their own fault.
Now I will say that I did watch The Long Halloween, like literally a day ago. I watched both parts, and honestly, I've never read that story, so it made it more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't even know if they messed up that. So I'm sure people will let me know, but I don't remember who the big bad is. So
yeah, I can't say it. Like, for the last few movies have been a lot better if you don't know the storyline.
yeah,
I mean, I enjoyed Gotham by Gaslight because I didn't know it was, based on anything. So I actually enjoyed that one, thinking I was like, oh, that's pretty cool concept.
it is. I like the concept. The concept's still the same,
Yeah,
but it's just they tweak it at the end, and you're like Hush. I mean, Hush is almost panel per panel the same fucking story, which is fantastic. I love that story. Except you change the villain. And I'm like, we're going to go panel for panel.
Just go all the way.
Yeah. Why do you...
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? I don't know. Like I said, so I would say there needs to be some kind of redemption there. I don't know. I haven't watched Injustice.
Don't. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Just don't.
See?
Don't.
And that was...
Save yourself the headache. Don't.
And that was like one of their best comic books running for several years.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
I'd agree. Like, I remember, like, in animations, like, DC was the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching, like, all those movies, everything like that. But even now, kind of like hearing about how, like, things have dropped off, we're like, hey, we're going to throw a twist in here for no goddamn reason.
Yeah.
It's like... Like, you don't make me happy. You don't make me want to watch any more of your films.
Because the biggest thing I remember for the DC animated universe was, remember that Aquaman movie they came out with?
Yes.
I actually really fucking enjoyed that. Like, I was like, damn, Aquaman's kind of cool in this movie.
Yep.
And before that, I mean, that was before Jason Momoa and whatnot. That Aquaman movie. And so before that, Aquaman was kind of a loser. I'm not going to say before that because he, it's like he has his spikes during the movies and then just like, cool. He's cool for a bit and then, oh.
I mean, it's a lot better than when he was with the Super Friends back in the day where he's like, hey, let me call a school of tuna to help me out. And I'm like,
Tilapia, get over here.
Pretty much, you're like, what? Hold on. You got to call a shark, but you called tuna.
Yeah.
And you rode a purple seahorse. You're like, and had a saddle. That's what made it worse.
Yeah.
It had a saddle.
I got a question for you, Doc. If you went back and read that story.
Which story?
I don't know. The one that, from, what was it, Long Halloween?
Yeah.
If you went back and read that, would you be disappointed if they fucked it up?
Yeah. I mean, so the overall look of the movies are really genuinely really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their animation is still,
the animation,
for the most part, is still top notch.
Exactly.
For Injustice, I don't like it.
That's what I said for the most part. I'm not counting that. We don't speak of the dark times.
The other movie that I didn't like was the anime one.
Oh, the Batman Ninja?
Yeah.
Ninja Batman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus.
That was an abomination as well.
But, I mean, again, that story was that was an original story.
Yeah.
And just in the animated universe, so I can't complain about it like I would all the other ones. Like I said, the artwork looked good.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Is like about that. It's like if you just take the traditional 2D style art and take those characters and draw them out, that looks good. But that animation just
it kind of like it's that semi 3D animation that kind of killed it because it kind of reminded me, and I hated this animation style back when they did this too. Remember when when the Matrix was big?
Yes.
And they came out with the Matrix Revolutions or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was like an anthology series of it. And one of those was like a Ninja Matrix thing. And they used that, I'm not going to say exact same, but similar art style. I hated it then. I still hate it now.
Everything just looks too glossy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those that I'm like I said, to me, I'm not going to say I completely hate it because, hey, at least it's not based on a story. So
yeah, you can at least say that, but
I mean, that is their one saving grace. But some of the other stuff, you're like what are you doing? Like,
yeah, but I mean, this was supposed to be complimenting DC, and here we are.
Hey, you brought it up. I mean, like I said previously to that, I mean, literally, you were 100% dead on. I mean, their animation was great. Like, I had no complaints. They were really good. And I think they're better when they're telling original stories.
Yeah.
And their own anime. When they're adapting, stories from the comic books to that, then you're like, okay, maybe we should do it. Like the one that was called Dune.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yes, that was really good.
Because we were talking about it like last week. I don't know if it was during recording or not. But like we were talking about like The Killing Joke, where they have that scene between Batgirl and Batman.
Oh yeah.
Like they added stuff in to like enhance stories.
Yeah, Batman was enhancing that butt.
Yeah, but like they added stuff in to like enhance the story or like and make it a feature-length film. But it's like it's not like they just threw in fan service. It was just like there was like a moment that tied it in, and they also extended scenes. But like now it's just like, hey, panel, and the Riddler's all the villains.
Yeah.
Batman was like, hey, Batgirl, I need you to extend this scene if you know what I'm talking about.
Riddle me this, son of a bitch!
Batgirl riding the Batpole.
Oh, wow.
Second appearance of Batpole this week.
And then you see Nightwing in the back. I'm like, oh. Another thing that Bruce is better at than I am.
Don't forget your Bat Trojans.
I think Batman forgot it because otherwise,
He's like, talk about Dick Grayson, this is how you do it. But nonetheless, I mean, again, I don't mind if, like you said, if they add scenes to make the story better. But it's one thing. Like I said, that's one thing. But when you literally change the ending, that just a pet peeve for me. I'm like, you're already there.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm not thinking about it. Like the Hush, story arc is actually considered one of the best in like written,
Yep.
story arcs. And so it was like you thought you could make it better, like by of all people degrading or like using a lesser villain.
But guys, he's more popular. I'm just kidding.
Well, not only that, right? But like you had the look of Hush, with the bandage, their face, the
like
overcoat.
you were 99% there.
Yeah.
And then when you reveal what he looks like underneath,
And you fumbled at the 1 yard line.
and you're like, oh my God, why does he have a question mark? Didn't he have like a question mark burnt down?
Yeah.
Burnt to his forehead? And
Yeah.
you're like,
It's like Marilyn Manson Riddler.
not even that. That would have been cooler. I mean, but it's more like, it's like the Riddler meets Brad Pitt's character from Inglourious Bastards.
Oh,
I said
yeah.
Marilyn Manson.
Where he cuts that.
I meant the killer dude Manson.
Charlie Manson.
Yeah, Charlie Manson.
Yeah, where you're like, oh my God, this is so horrible.
Yeah.
You change this character and you're like, Batman, you challenged me to be better and blah, blah, blah.
Now that I think about it, instead of being a criminal, couldn't the Riddler just go on like Jeopardy or some shit and, make some oodles of cash?
Right?
I don't know. Yeah, can he just be like, wouldn't he just make the ultimate like crossword puzzles?
Yeah.
And make a book of those bitches and sell them? Like, bro, make some money.
Yeah, he could be doing all sorts of legit stuff, and he's like, no, I'm going to rob a bank.
I'm going to get revenge.
I'm going to rob a bank with a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, not only that, but just be terrible at it. Like, you're a mate. Like, at this point, like, okay, how many times have you made this intricate crime where you leave Batman clues in riddle form and he solves them? At this point, I mean, wouldn't you?
I mean, you don't even need to solve the riddle. It's just like, it's a riddle. It's the Riddler. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
I always think of the Riddler. Like, do y'all remember Batman Forever?
As the Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, not like, I don't remember him as like Jim Carrey, but I remember like that one scene where Two-Face is trying to teach him how to throw a punch. He's like, ball fist, do all that. And he punches the guy and just goes, ow. That's what the Riddler is to me. It's just like everything he does is just that one moment of ow.
Don't get me wrong. I like the Riddler. I love the Riddler as an enemy. But he's not a fighty character. He is a, solve the riddle, like, and by all means, there's all sorts of, like, loop, logic, plot holes in his whole getup.
Speaking of
solve the riddle, you get the antidote.
Who the hell would sit there? I'm like, if you're a henchman, why would I follow you? Look at your dress, the way you dress. It's a green overcoat with question marks on it, and you're wearing the same colored bowler hat with a question mark on it. And you're like, how do you walk around the city and people are, oh, yeah, that's the you're like, hey, guy, yeah, we kind of know who you are. Walk into a bank. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and sound the alarm. We already know what's here to do.
But that also has a weird, interesting thing that we'll remember in getting away from the whole animated movies or whatever. But remember that episode of I think it was Batman where like Harley Quinn gets out of Arkham, like legitimately gets out of Arkham because she was like, oh, you're much better, go be free. And then like she walked into a place, and granted she walked into a place with fucking hyenas, so that maybe it's a little bit on her. But they automatically were like, oh, here's the money, trip the alarm, And it was like, no, I just want to buy the dress, Kind of like
Pretty Woman.
Yeah. It kind of goes into like I guess once you're a villain at Gotham, they're just like, oh, here you are, trip the alarm.
Same old song and dance, here you go.
Yep. So it's just like circle of violence thing here,
Do you think they have like self-restraining like little handles somewhere in there? So they're just like, all right, I already tied myself up. I know the drill.
Yeah. But you gotta wonder why you would even be a thug in Gotham City. You're like, honestly, I would prefer if Batman just shot me. I'd prefer getting shot than, brain trauma. Because the dude has, like, metal plates in his fist.
I'd be like, can I just lay down on the ground?
I know, right? It's like, oh, Batman's here. Let me just go ahead and, like, hold on a second. No. No punchy punch. I'm just going to lay down. He's that way. Just...
I learned the error of my ways.
Be like, what do you need to know? Just talk about, this is like police brutality, but you're not a cop.
Yeah.
This is brutality.
But it's just one of those things that is like, I guess, I think, I want to say it was in one of the newer movies where it's like, where I think it's like Nightwing or Robin that's like sitting there like making fun of Batman or like kind of like poking at his argument that, he's against guns. He's like, you're against guns, but like, you're okay with, traumatic brain trauma, And it's like, Batman's just like walking to another scene. Cause
I would have been like, I saved dress, didn't I?
Right.
Could have sent you back over there to get violated, in foster care. No, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things that I'm like, I sometimes, I wish that people would just stop meddling and shit. But I'd like to believe that it's just, maybe just, like, hey, put somebody in that change the bad guy so it's relatable or so people know who it is.
Yeah.
Or so the kids know who it is. And I'm like, yeah.
So you use the Riddler. Like, it just comes down to you use the Riddler.
So, I mean, if that's the case, why didn't you use the Penguin? You're like, you don't know who I am, Batman. You're the Penguin. Besides that, it was a dead giveaway. You have Penguin standing next to you.
We're also in an iceberg lounge. You think to change your location? What's wrong with you? Brain trauma.
Really, it's like...
I mean, honestly, they could have used, like, Clayface that, has that shape-shifting ability.
Yeah.
And by all means, Clayface, again, isn't the most interesting character in the world. But...
I love ventriloquist. Him and the dummy are both just like us.
little bandage wraps on Scarface. Like, you'll never guess who I am. Yeah.
It even has like the little cutouts for his mouth. You just see him go.
Hey, tell me the ventriloquist. Ham! Somebody squeal.
Get him, Muggsy. Batman's just like, is this really what my life is going to?
Yeah.
And I was like, who are the third tier superheroes in Gotham City? We need to get those people to solve this crime.
Is there any second tier characters in?
Yeah, I mean there are some.
Is there? Like who?
Like the Gotham girl, and there was her brother was
Gotham Boy?
Gotham something. I forgot.
Okay.
Gotham Man.
But he turned evil and he got killed.
Oh shit, okay.
Batman said, I don't take no shit.
Yeah, because I was like, as far as I know, it's just like the Bat family in fucking Gotham. Except for Nightwing, he's in Bloodhaven, but...
Yeah, was it the Signal?
Coolest name ever.
Like, he wears yellow, and Batman's like, yeah, I chose you because I want you to be the one that's out in the daylight. Like, oh, okay, sure.
Who's that?
I forgot what his name is, but yeah.
Daybat.
The White Knight.
No, that's the Joker. Or, Jack Napier. In that one storyline, at least. Which I thought was really interesting, like the
three Jokers?
No, not the three Jokers, it's literally the White Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, he actually becomes sane again.
Mm-hmm. And he sees Batman, takes him to court and all that shit.
Yeah. And they actually wind up putting Batman in jail, and which is weird, but
That's an amazing way.
No, like it's actually really good. Like,
they're like, you know what? I'm gonna sue him
because the entire time Batman is like, he really seems like a crazy motherfucker. He's like, no, the Joker's still in there. Like, this is just one of his crazy plans. It's like the entire time, Jack Napier actually has a legit fucking argument for it, And by all means, yes, he's still the Joker, but his psychoticness has been subdued, So it's just the intelligence of the Joker without the psychosis. It's actually a really good storyline. And then he turns back.
I just love the idea of the Joker rolling up in a wheelchair. Look what he did to my legs!
It's funny. When I read a Batman comic book, I could never read a Batman comic book anymore. And when I see the Joker, I always, in my head, it always plays the Joker music from the animated show.
Oh.
I don't know, it just stuck in my head. That.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. Especially when they were like first introducing him into a scene. Yeah.
Do y'all remember that moment from the animated series where the Joker was talking to one of his thugs? And then, he just, either hands over a bag of cash to be taken or something like that, but he's, basically paying his taxes.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's just like, yeah, you don't mess with the IRS. And
yeah.
The guy's just like, huh? It's like, look, even the Joker's afraid to not, pay his taxes.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is the funniest fucking scene that I can almost always remember.
Yeah, which kind of reminds me of a different. And I think we can almost start closing out this episode because we're about to hit that 1 hour mark. But it also reminds me of this episode. I think it was the Batman, because it was drawn different. I just remember that, so I'm not sure if it's the Batman, but the Joker captures Bruce Wayne. Or rather, Batman unveils that it's Bruce Wayne, and he kind of goes a little bit Elon Musk on him. He's like, Wayne Enterprises said that there's going to be an electric car by 2022. I put a deposit down, Bruce. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
And it's funny, I think there was
completely glosses over there's a car!
I forgot what comic book this was. It was one of those comic books where he reveals that he always knew who Bruce was, but it was just so much better to not know or pretend not to know because it made their little dance so much better.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I actually really like the Joker sometimes, because it's whenever he's just he's doing crazy shit for the crazy shit's sake. Again, another one of the better episodes of the animated series is the Christmas episode. Where it's he captures Gordon, the news reporter, and somebody else, I forgot who else it is. And, he has Batman come down to a studio, in front of the television and everything.
Just to get a pie in the face.
Yeah. And he's like, open the package, Batman. And Batman's like, okay. Opens it, he's bam, pie in the face. And he just runs off like a fucking goofball. It's just all right, your one chance to kill him, and he just pie in the face.
See you next year.
Pretty much. So yeah, I mean, like, we can and we have gone into a whole conversation about the Joker, you know?
Yep.
But, like I said, I think it's getting close to the 1 hour mark. So with that, we'll go ahead and end this episode. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
And hit that notification bell.
Bye.